Hello. Welcome to another stream where we're making a game. Let's chill out, shall we? The idea is I'm just going to do this as a hobby. I would like to just check in, do the hobby, and turn on stream. This system is doing anything but that. So it's a little frustrating, but let's see. The game we're trying to make is a two-player card game. So if I play through it now, we have some of these elements in place. Round one, go. It's as if we started the game already and we're kind of just starting on round one. I'm sitting across the table from somebody who also has some cards in their hand. And I can look through my cards, and I'm looking at cards that I can play and do battle with. Inversion Bomb has a lot of power. Some defense, less speed, very little health, and some luck, etc. These are silly names. This is ugly. Everything we're doing is temporary while we figure out how we're going to build this game. Next thing I'm going to do is put cards on the table. For round one, there's 3 cards to put on the table. There's 3 lanes I can put them in, and 3 attack positions I can put them in. And rather than it coming back into my hand when I let go, I actually want it to stay there. That's a piece that we're working on right now. Yes, Hippobot. And we just got this cursor on the table working, so it looks like where the card will be. That's pretty cool. I'm going to start the stream. Gosh, I wanted to start early, but I've had such a hard time getting the stream to this morning. It's not really early anymore. And in fact, of course, the music is going. Awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. Let's do more stuff that has nothing to do with the game that we're trying to make. That's great. It's really great. So frustrating. It really is. Shall we get back to the game? All right. Cards that are on the table flip over and they go to battle. This has all been worked out. It's great. We even have multiple cards going into battle. It's great. Hey, we even have some ish visual effects. They're kind of mid. Again, this is testing until we can figure out how we're going to build the real game. So this is like all testing. That's why it can look like crap and all that stuff. It is incomplete as well. Like this is incomplete. I want to be able to place cards. This time 4 cards go on the table, round 2. And again, I would like the card to stay there. I like the cursor that we added. There's probably more adjustments I want to do this, but for now, the most important thing we want to do, and that is how we approach this process. What's the next most important thing? And the immediate question that should come up is, well, how do you know what's most important? It is always safe to go back to the player experience. So here I am playing the game to check in on what's most important. Okay, for me, I can see the cards, and that's great. I can decide which card is best to play at this point. That's cool. See the colored border telling me that this is a speed card with a 10 on speed. This is a power card with a 10 on power. This is a luck card, etc. I can see those borders. That helps. But the stats are the things I really use, and now I can place cards. Cool. We've got the lanes and the attack order figured out. This cursor is helping us. Great, great, great. Now, get the card to stay there. That's what I want. Let's work on that. If you look at the schedule, what schedule? Well, this schedule. If you look at the schedule, it says we're supposed to play games. No, you're not the boss of me. I'm going to do my thing. I enjoy the game I'm playing the most is literally the game I'm currently making. It's always been true. And I could stop. I could play Valorant, stumble around Valorant for a couple of hours and be like, that was frustrating. No, no. And frankly, I have other stuff that I'm doing and I'm interrupting that stuff so I can do this. And I like this. This is fun. But I don't like stopping to do stuff I don't want to do. I'd rather stop and do stuff I do want to do. So, do I want to code? Yeah, actually, it's exactly what I want to do. I want to get this to work. There's some steps that we take, these tiny little steps that we're taking in this test game allows us to understand exactly how we're going to build a real game with good art and stuff later. And actually, the key part that we're testing or we're working towards testing soon is vast, dramatic changes to the rules of how to play this game. And we've been thinking about them as we've developed this test. In fact, we have lots of pieces of that already built. And I'm getting really excited about the idea of getting to a place where we can test these cool things. Well, one of the cool things is players can set their own battle formations. So I might decide to put this one here, the next one there, the next one there, and the next one there. But I could just as easily go, no, I'm going to have this one back here, this one all the way up at the front, this one midway, and that one, Well, you know, rather than a set formation on the table like this, I want custom formations. And I want those to matter based on what the opponent player does. To do this, I have to be able to get this new mechanism working. We're going to do some code. This script works with this script and a bunch of others. This script does the battle, all that battle stuff that we were just looking at. This script does the placing on the table stuff. And so this is what we've been working on the last week or so. All of this so far has been about a month of development to make this test. I am doing this. We've recently got this view with the cards and seeing individual cards and all this working. I'm clicking and releasing, clicking, releasing. I can click and hold and drag and get here. This is recent. So now I want, and I know I can get the card to stay there. I'm literally telling it to come back into position. Actually start over here in the inspect place and animate back. Even when I'm here and I let go, it does that. So I know I can say, no, just stay there. Right? I'll leave the other cards in the hand where they are. And I want to be able to grab the next cursor and place another card. There's going to be, as we talked about last time, a number of issues that are going to immediately pop up when we do that. And I suppose we're going to run into them on the stream, so I'll point it out when we get there. This literally is the code we were using to see it go into one of 3 lanes and one of 3 attack positions for this round. The next round it goes to 4. The next, and if it goes into overtime, there's 5 lanes and 5 attack positions. This is the code that actually makes sure that it's sort of locked into those positions. And we use that as well for this cursor, the little purple outline of where the card was going to be placed on the table. These are separate objects and they're placed in the same place roughly. So I place them at the same time. Now, let's deconstruct what this current test is doing and revise it to do what we want it to do. In this case, on every frame, after it draws the frame of the table and the cards, do some stuff. It will figure out the dimensions of the screen so that my mouse position can be used as an effective way to determine where to put things on the table. It's exactly what all this is doing. I am saying, if that cursor, the mouse cursor is over a card that we are holding in our hand, and we aren't already inspecting it, then let's inspect it. So this is that mechanic of me dragging over the cards and the cards peeking up and down. That's actually already there. The lift card progress determines how much it's lifting up or whether I'm actually inspecting it. All right. This says, hey, are you clicking the mouse button? because if so, then we do other things. That's where we start to see the mechanics we've been playing with. As I click it, I can inspect it. Yes, that's absolutely happening. But I'm also saying, hey, are we moving the cursor to the middle of the table? Because if so, we do special things. In the middle of the table, this is literally asking, are we more than 20% from the left, less than 80% from the right? Are we more than 20% from the 10% from the top and 70% from the bottom? This is where the cards are. So I'll need to be in this area, and it's asking if we're there, let's do some things. And this is where we're moving cards onto the table. It's also where I put the cursor. So if I say, am I pressing the button, right? I want to know when I'm not pressing the button. Basically, I want to release the card. So putting the card there, that's great. Now, when I release, right, this is, am I pressing it? Well, this is else. This is when I'm releasing it. So right now, it's doing this. The current version of the test is saying, wait, are you currently inspecting a card? That's what I'm using to detect that. If so, start moving the card back to its original place in the hand. That's what we see when it's over here and moves toward the hand's location. So we actually want to remember any card that is currently that has been put on the table, so that when we release, that's this, when we release the card, I should just make it clear, we're releasing the mouse button, just to make it clear for people at home. There's nobody at home. Who am I joking? So if I release the mouse button, I want to do special things. This is stop inspecting. That's what the following code is. But this, I would like to have drop card on table. It's literally what I would like to have happen. And I am aware that this is already positioned correctly. I just want to leave it there. Instead of holding on to this card information, I want to remove it. This is literally a card in hand. That's the name that I've used for it, and that is how I'm using it, because I wanted to manipulate and lift up cards that were in your hand and then inspect. And literally inspecting is still technically in your hand. I suppose, if I were getting technical, they remain in your hand until we actually go to the next mode of play, where the table shifts its view, or sorry, the camera shifts its view to look down on the table, and we are in play. So it remains in hand until it's in play. So I guess if I'm going to be worried about the names of things, this is what it is. Drop the card on the table while it's still in hand, I guess. This is an issue. I'm trying to figure out, do I have a card that is technically in hand? It's one of these cards in hand, but I've marked it as something that will be in play. It will transfer from my hand into play. There is actually a place in the data on the script that is actually handling the battle and the game. There's a place for the cards to be in hand, and there's a place for the cards to be in play. Cards literally transfer here. And the intermediate step is deciding which cards to play. This is already being filled in. We are going to also fill in the battle lane stuff. We talked about that last time. But this placing on the table is a great opportunity for us to actually populate this cards to play. Until then, there's nothing in play. Everything is in hand. So this name of cards in hand, I guess, will have to stay for now. This is what I mean by we're testing it once, then we're going to figure out how to really build it. Because I'm running into issues like this where I realize there's an intermediate step between cards in hand and cards in play. I need to understand that this card that is still in hand is actually on the table. There is a variable we made last time called the number of cards played, which is now that I'm saying the word out loud, this name is somewhat of a misnomer, but it's okay. We are playing cards on the table. We are putting them from our hand onto the table. This is just a number. It's how many cards have we put on the table. That's good, but it doesn't say which card that is in our hand is actually gonna be played. In other words, the number that shows up here on this list, if I play the game from here, you can see the number. These cards are in my hand, and it is already pre-configured that I'm going to play the first three. Card 0 is this one, card 1 is this one, card 2 is this one. And so this is the data. It's already aware of cards in my hand, and it's referencing them by index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 3 cards to play in this round. This is already pre-configured. What I'm saying is this mechanism already knows that there is a number of cards that have been laid on the table that will refer to this. I should use the number 0, 1, 2 to indicate that I've placed 0. I'm going to place 1. I'm going to place 2. 0, 1, 2. I can do that. I do not yet know which one was placed, however. So I'm trying to figure out, do I need new data to track this, or do I already have enough data that I could just have my script figure it out? And I'm starting to think that I do actually have all the data I need. I know these are the cards, and this is the this number, like 2, actually refers to the index here. So I know how to find the card that I need. This series indicates the attack order, which is roughly how forward it is, 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, I should say. This will actually refer to the attack lane. So 0, 1, 2 is going to refer to 0, 1, 2. And since this is the attack lane, this is the attack order, and these numbers that are here are actually referring to the card, I think I actually have all the data. All right, then. If that's true, when I say number of cards played, I'm actually referring to am I referring to the attack order? Not really. Or battle lane? Not really. Because I could easily place the first card in the back or over to the right. Shice. All right. Fine. I'm going to make new data, and I'll probably change my mind later in the process. But right now, number of cards played, I should say, is an amount of cards that I have played. Cards played. This is not a good name. I'm already regretting the name, but I'm going to just stick with it. Do I want 5? Actually, no, I don't. I'm just going to keep this the way it is. In other words, This is going to keep track of how many have I put down, but it doesn't say which ones I've put down. Instead, I really do need to refer to the cards in hand. And that's what this is going to do. It's going to be a series of numbers. Each number refers to a card in hand. So if I have 3 cards, that's fine. I need 3 slots. Each slot tells me which card in hand. Okay, done. That means this is what we were working on last time. Do the formation cursors. That's what this was. And code. It's a coding stream. I thought we were supposed to play games, man. Well, this is a game of sorts. You can make a game out of it. Nerd. Okay, I'm going to... We did this formation of cursors, and it does relate to the cards that are being played. So this is a great place to say, yeah, we haven't placed any card yet, so the number of cards played is 0. It is also a great place to say, I know how many cards I will play. Right? That's this number of cards to play. So I can say cards played. Has not been happening yet, but we know that we're going to eventually say we need this many. Okay. By saying give me a new series of numbers, integers, in this amount, gets it set up so I can put these things here. I'm stopping to think. Do I need to actually put some data in here to start with? That's a great question. By default, these numbers that I've just instructed it to make are all going to be 0. By default, numbers have to be some number, and it's going to be 0. But 0 actually refers to one of the cards. It's the first card. I actually don't want it to refer to any card. Explicitly, I want it to be no card at all. So 0 would be a problem. In other words, I need to initialize this data. What I'm going to do is set them all to be -1. -1 is not a valid index at all, so I'm going to have to manage that and make sure that I'm not trying to operate on a number like -1 to refer to which card in my hand, because there's no such -1. That's not a thing. But it will force me to only work on data that I intentionally set. So I'm saying each one of these, as it goes through each one, set it to -1. This is like initialized. It is totally invalid data. Intentionally so, because I don't want to actually operate on it until I explicitly set it to a particular card. And I think I can use that. The reason why I stopped to do that is because I'm starting to think I can actually use that. These formation cursors are being placed. And this num card played is how many I have placed. Explicitly, though, this can refer to how much of that data that I just initialized, how much of that has been intentionally set. It's a good point. Let's see how that works out. I have a feeling about it, but I need to test. Let's try something. I have cards played. I have num cards played. And the num cards played is how many cards have already been played. It starts at 0, which is the first of these numbers. And I know that while I've been dragging this around, I'm either inspecting it, and it's over here on the right-hand side, and I'm looking at the card, or I've dragged it onto the table, but I'm still technically inspecting it. In fact, I know which card it is. It's this card. This also refers to a card in hand. It's the same index. So I can use that. As long as this is still valid, I can say, yeah, I want the card that has been played to be this. Um, this is, I'm slowing down and thinking this through because this is where I know it should stay. This is when I have released the mouse button and I want to move on to other cards. This is actually where I begin to move it back into place. In fact, I'm looking at this right now. Is this? This is only when. Yeah, okay. Otherwise, it is facing us. Yeah, okay, that's true. I'm just looking at these two lines right here. Okay. I think while it's right here, I should be considering this to be the card on the table. Now, this is I'm right on the edge of what we have already thought through in terms of this mechanic. I'm just taking cards and putting them on the table. How hard could it be? Well, we're actually running into all the details that make it hard. This is showing me the card is placed. This is where the card is moved to the position on the table. The cursor is there as well. And this is where I want to say, yep. And while we're at it, let's make sure we this is not a good place for it, but let's make sure we remember that this is one of the cards that should be placed on the table. It is this one. We're not sure, but I think that's going to be what it is. If we're doing this and we're actually moving it back. No, this is okay. We are holding the mouse button down. We're going through all the cards to see, which one it is that we're actually looking at. We've lifted it, and so we're inspecting it. If we are inspecting it, okay, this is where I want to be. This says, are we already inspecting a card? And if not, that's what this is. This is saying we aren't inspecting anything yet. Well, then let's inspect this one that we're currently looking at. I would like to consider this might be the card we place. Is that true? Perhaps. Until I say otherwise, that's where it will live. I really question this now that I'm doing it. But when we let go is kind of what I'm thinking right now. This is going to stay the card that we are going to place. It will stay that way. It'll stay that way. And in fact, the number of cards played. Do you know what this is helping us do is the formation cursors. What it's not helping me do is really organize this data. It's not helping me. I will eventually have a great way to know which card is first, second, third, which lane it's in. But at this point in the script, I have none of that organized. This is awful, actually. Okay. I do want to get to a point where I can test something. This is absolutely saying the cards played is the current one. This is current. These are the cards played, and it's the inspect card. Fine. I will change this back to -1 in the case that this is not true when I release. Okay, so this is pressing it and I'm doing things with it, but I really care about when I release the mouse button. When I release the mouse button, I kind of want to know is my cursor in this spot? In other words, in the center of the table, and I'm placing things. Because if that's true, I really want to leave it there. I don't want to transition the card back into the hand like this does. This is saying, is my inspection card valid? Right? I mean, otherwise I'm just clicking. It doesn't mean anything. But if I'm clicking on a card, that's my inspection card. So this is asking, if I am inspecting a card, then let's start moving that card back over time and put it in position at that angle so it's sitting in my hand. And I'm saying, oh, no, no, no. I've actually decided this should be on the table. Yeah, this is going to be not here. I'm going to leave these curly brackets here. They're kind of optional when there's only one line. I am here in the middle of the table with my card. That's what this section is. So this is a great place to say, okay, then, if you let go here, that will be a card that's played. So this is saying you've been inspecting a card, and I'm now releasing it. I'm releasing it, and I was inspecting a card. Well, then let's do this. Let's ask, is the current cards being played? Current. Is this true, basically? Effectively, if the card's being played, this current one is the same as the inspect card index. That should be the condition. This programming is really all about defining the condition that is true when you want a rule to take place. Programming is all about finding the condition that is true when you want the rule to take place. This is, I have moved a card onto the table, right? I'm keeping track of a single card that I'm inspecting, and I'm in the middle of the table. So if I let go, is the card I've been looking at set to be the card that I play? And I think that's the condition I want. If that's true, I should be able to confirm name a card. Is that really what that is? I'm not entirely sure. Card? Is this actually a card? What is this? A series of game objects. Yeah, okay, so yeah, whatever. I'll give me the name of the game object. Okay. So this script is handling game objects that are in front of the camera. Those are the cards that are fanned out and stuff. So what I'm asking about is an actual object. Interesting. Good to know. It does refer to actual data, but for now I'll just give me the name of the object. That's fine. So in other words, when I do let go after inspecting, I want it to tell me that I am going to lay this card on the table. Now it will actually move back because that's what this does, but it will tell me it knows to confirm the condition is true. Let's see if that's going to work. The test is drag it on here and let go. The card to play is Fear Kestrel. That is exactly right. Cool. The card to play is Counter Shiv. Yay! These are fun names, right? Shockweb. Cool. So it knows I'm literally looking down here. This is telling me it knows that's what's going on. Cool. So I wanted to confirm that I know the condition. I'm trying to let it go and let this be the card to play. Yes, I've confirmed that with this feedback that is exactly right. So I know I can go ahead and move on to the next card to play. I can let this be the first card played or the second card or whatever, because it's going to increment each time. Now, if the inspect card is not -1, if it's more than -1, this is also an invalid index, right? And I'm using that value to indicate whether I'm actually inspecting a card or not. If I do this, I don't think I'm inspecting a card anymore. This is saying, please move that inspect card back into place. And I don't want to do that. Another way to say that is I believe I want to make the inspect card invalid again because I want to ignore the code that would put it back in the hand. In fact, I just want to do this. Yeah, I want to reset all this. In fact, I probably could just say inspect card progress. Oh, hi, Visual Studio. Are you helping me? No, you're not. Not at all. This IntelliSense feature is sometimes maddeningly in my way. Inspect card progress. It just so happens the names of my objects happen to conflict with all the various code objects that are available here. Whatever. Just going to set this to some number far less than 0 so that this condition is then true and it resets the thing. But I also want to skip all this because I don't want it to move back into the hand. I believe that means that it will just stay where it is. The code here puts the card where it should be. And it puts it where it should be on the table. Cards in hand. Yeah, the name is a misnomer because it's cards that have not been played yet. Potentially they're in their hand, potentially you're inspecting it, potentially it's on the table to be played. We don't know yet. We're in this sort of suspension before we move on to the next phase of the game. So cards in hand is a misnomer. That's okay. I want to ignore that card if we let go and it should be on the table. I think this will do it, but I'm pretty sure we're going to run into some complications of this later. What happens when I drag the next card, blah, blah, blah. I'm not entirely sure. If this goes up, I need to account for what happens when it goes too far. If the number of cards played is more than the cards to play, I've already determined what the length, or in other words, the number of these cards should be. Oh, give me length. What's wrong with you? Cards played. Cards played. Yeah, these names are getting less than organized. So I've already determined that the cards played length should be a number that matches how many cards to play. So I'm counting how many cards have been played. I just don't want it to go over that number. I don't want it to be equal to that number either because it starts counting at zero. Um, I suppose this means that it's going to stay there. What I'm trying to say is I'm running into the question of what happens when you have laid down all, for example, three cards on the table for round one. Now you grab a card and you put that on the table. What happens? Well, this number should not be causing an error by going too far. That's true. But I think it means I should stay at the last one. I am quite certain what's going to happen is I'm going to be putting an extra card on the table. The card that we're just leaving there will not know that it needs to be returned. Ooh. I put the third card on the table. Now I grab another card and put that on the table. What happens to the third card? I want it to return, actually. Yeah, and I don't want to put a question in my comments. It's a statement or it's to do or temp. Return old card to hand means I'm trying to drag a new card. This condition will be true because I'm inspecting a card and dragging it onto the table. However, I need to catch a condition that determines, wait, you've already placed all three, or whatever. If that's true, I don't want you to forget about the card that was on the table. I know which one it is because I'm keeping track of which one. It needs to go back into the hand, so I could do something like this, perhaps. I think I'm going to use inspect card to help. Because this is already a mechanism that'll put it back in the hand. So let's look at this. I'm going to test this. I'm not exactly sure. In fact, I know something's going to go wrong at some point. I need to know where. So where is it going to break? That's the question. Here I am grabbing a thing. I move it over here. And I want to just leave it there once I let go. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, it didn't stay there. Well, but it does know that I'm placing a second card because we have our next cursor sitting here. That's kind of cool. It's cool, and yet, yeah, not nice. I'm quite certain the data is working, and that's grand. Yeah, so here it is. The third one is still being manipulated. That's kind of what I just made sure was going to happen. Well, that's fine. And this is clearly pointing out the need for the shiftables that I thought about long ago and need to integrate now or soon. All right, first things first, let's get this card to just stay there. Can we do that? Can we please? Let's do that. Um, In other words, this left it so that I could manipulate the third cursor over and over again. I'm kind of surprised that this moved the card back into place. Huh. I'm also surprised that our music somehow stopped. Can I get that to work, please? Hello. Why did you stop working? Let's play this song, please. Thank you. All right. And I need to let my monitor of the feed catch up to make sure that we are actually still here in the code. Let's see if that works. Okay. All right. So I was able to see it moved on to the next number of card played, which is great because that caused our cursor to look correct. I believe the number of cards played actually knows which card should be on the table, but I don't know that for sure. Let's test that. We did actually do a test to indicate which card, and it gave us the name of the card, so we have verified that. But I want to see, like, actually, what I want to do is make this public so I can just look at it. I will quite literally change this after I verify. But I want to change this from private to public, which, long story short, means that I can see it here in the inspector on the right-hand side, which is going to help. It should be here at the bottom somewhere. Somewhere. Hello? Did I save it? What's going on? Cards played. Hello? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong script. Looking at the wrong script. It is here. There's only two I'm dealing with, and it's this one. Okay, so this is going to tell me how many cards have been played and which ones they are. So I can do this, set to -1 to begin with, that's true, and I put this and put it down, and it tells me card 1, 0, 1 is placed here. And then card whatever 3 is there, and then sure. I love that formation. So this is what I want. I want the player to be able to do this and have their own custom formations. That's what we're working towards. We're almost there. I swear. But this third one, why is that -1? Okay, it's a good thing I exposed this data so I can see. This should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's not 4. You can see it setting it to 4 right now. And then I let go. And it's -1. Why? Did I tell it to do that? Of course I did. Anytime the thing does something wrong, it's not the computer doing something different. It's because I told it something different. Well, the inspect card, it values -1, but it doesn't mean I want this to be -1. I only get here if I'm pressing the mouse button. So is this the only place I set this to be inspect card value? It should be. Oh, no, I'll do it right here. Silly. I would like to drop this on the table, please. Yeah, why am I doing this here? That's a terrible place. What am I doing? This. Drop the card on the table. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, If this is equal, then make this equal. Yeah, that's ridiculous. What am I doing? Why is this even there? I think it was temporary code. That means nothing, right? Please drop the card on the table. Let's look at this again. That was ridiculous. I'm not sure why I did that in the first place. I think I was just thinking things through. But this is why we test. So we can see the issues, fix the problem, move on. Yeah? Okay. What does the data tell us? One, two, three. One, two, four. One, two, zero. So this number, 1 and 2 and 0, is referring to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's these cards, which does actually refer back to these this data here for which card is in the hand. Yay. We take small wins. But I want to know if that's true, and you know that, why are you moving the card back into place when I let go? Like, you know which card it is that should be placed. I suspect I may have to explicitly have a mechanism for. You know what? First things first. Hold on. This is starting to confuse me though. If this is -1 and it just moves on, because it will, this will be true. And then we'll do this, which means inspect card is -1. The progress is 0. There's nothing to move now. Confusion. This. Okay, so yeah, I was dealing with all of this. This is when you press the button or else you have not pressed the button and I'm doing things. Well, yes. That's not the only place where I actually manipulate these cards in hand. These objects are being manipulated up here as well. I just forgot. As I inspect the card, as I lift the card, that's the mechanism that's been going on. Yeah. So I need to use this data that I have now and prevent the current operation, which is, as I drag over these cards, lift them up. Inspect them. This operation is being handled elsewhere. I need to say, oh, but don't do this if you place it on the table, because it's not here, it's on the table. I actually want it to begin to ignore these cards on the condition that it's already on the table. In other words, I need to modify this code. Up here is where I start doing this. I do want the mouse button space because I'm tracking whether it's hovering over cards, right? But I want to ignore all this, right? I ignore it if I'm already inspecting a card. I also want to ignore this. In fact, I want to ignore all of this. If the card in question, I'm going through each card in my hand. I am going through the cards in my hand. Yes, that's I. Okay. That's cards in hand. I is same as saved card position, which is same as, I'm using it all over the place. It is going through a number of cards, the ones in my hand. I need to just say, yeah, that thing where we manipulate the lift and the inspect and all this stuff. I just want you to continue. I want to just move on to the next card if, on the condition that it is already placed. So I need to ask the question, actually, is placed on the table. I'll just be explicit. And by default, we'll say, no, we're going to hope for the best, that we do want to actually make it, manipulate the card and lift it up and inspect it and all that stuff. But let's check. Because if it is already placed on table, I guess I could say placed. If it is placed on the table, you know what? Let's just continue, which is to say this is iterating through all the cards. Continue says, yeah, just move on to the next one. Just skip all of this, which is exactly what I want. I don't want any of this to happen. I want to keep it in place, doing what it does. But if it is the case that I've already placed this card on the table, then I want it to continue and move on to the next card. So I do know if this card has been placed. I can look through this array and see if it matches I, because that array holds a bunch of numbers that is the same index kind of stuff. Show cards played, right? That's what that's the thing. Cards played, yes. Just making sure. So we need to actually go through each of the cards played. Instead of I, I'm going to use N. I think that's safe. Cards played. Length. Going through all the cards played. Because this is why I set that initially to -1, frankly, because I want to make sure this doesn't actually look like a card. It should look like nothing. If the cards played, the one that I'm looking at now, which is N, if that index number is the same as, let's say, cards in hand, I, that is to say, if this index number equals this index number, why is this giving me an error? Cards in hand, I, cards played. Why is this giving me an error? And it's just because I didn't finish the line of code? No. It's really angry at me. What's up, dude? Oh. Cards in hand is a series of game objects. It's actually I that I care about. Not the game objects, but the index of them. Okay. So I'm just checking to see. This will assume false, go through all the cards, look to see if one of the cards that has been played equals this index of cards in my hand. If so, I say true, and remember that because I'm going to use that here and skip to the next one. Next one, it will be false again and only be true if we've actually placed it on the table. All right, that should effectively stop it from putting it back in place, because there were because that is the part of the script that handles the hover over stuff and lift here and the inspect here. So that should do what it does, but not if I do this. Hey, 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 I let go. Cool. Now these can lift and I can inspect. Oh, darn it. That's interesting. I can't select another card. Oh no. We'll figure out why. And I want to step through that again so I understand what happened. So it knows these are the inspect cards. And as I drag it on here, card number 4, or the index 4, the fifth card, is being placed on the table and will be remembered as the first card. I'd let go. So there's 4. The other 2 are setting at -1, which is appropriate. So it is ignoring that card as I do this stuff and inspect things. Oh, it's not. Why? It should be. I need to expose this data a bit more and figure out what's going on, because I expect data to be doing a certain thing, and I'm not sure that it is. I'm making this public as opposed to just printing out the data and reading the console, because this is going to be just faster. Both have the purpose of exposing the data I cannot see. Actually, I do want to keep this minimized while I test. The data I cannot see has been hidden because I don't want to accidentally mess with it. That's why we hide data. But I want to know, like, the inspect card is 1. It's the index of 1. That's what has been filled in the first place. Number of cards played is... Okay, so the inspect card is 0 now. Hold on, this is wrong. No matter which card I check, it keeps saying the inspect card is 1. When should that change? So that's why I was exposing the variable inspect card, because I suspected that that was not appropriately changing as I hover over a new card and click. Hovering over a new card and clicking is this. All right, this condition, programming is all about figuring out the right condition to make things work. That's absolutely true. So I'm going to carefully inspect these conditions now. Am I pressing the button? It's a good one. Go through all the cards, and so for each card, if this condition is true, which says I have been lifting the card up and it is currently 100% up. This is me hovering over a card and it goes up, peak. If that's true, then let's go ahead and make this the inspection card. If there isn't already one being inspected, then make that one the one that's lifted up 100%. Oh, I'm not resetting this. Aha. So this mechanism is relatively simple and straightforward because I'm testing. And what I do is I hover over it and it lifts up to 100% and then goes down. And I've been assuming nothing else, right? Until now, I've just been doing that. Let's see, that's a problem. It lifts up and it goes down. But if it never goes down because I skip all this, which I do now, that's an issue. I should instead ensure that this lift progress is already set to 0, because I use that down here in this condition. With experience, I know to go focus on the conditions and expose the data, focus on the conditions, test as I go. These are things I just learned. So I knew this, I should just step through these things and check all these conditions. And sure enough, This is the problem. I'm making an assumption. There's really no other card that could be lifted, but of course, I had to lift it in order to drag it on the table. I left it there at lift card 100%. So I need to change it back to 0. No, not here. What am I doing? Um, when I set it as a card to drop on the table. And it's not I. There's no I here. But the inspect card is the thing. It's currently the inspect card. Make its lift progress 0. What else have I done on this? I should really look through this. I just skipped through this, but I should probably look at this carefully. Saved card position. Well, this is used for where it is in the hand. So when I move it to the inspection place and back, it knows where to go back. I suppose that's fine to leave where it is, because there is a potential to move cards back off the table. And therefore, I am good to test. Again, I'll leave everything exposed. I will change that back in a second, but I do need to see if this helped, if there are more issues. I'm not going to move on until I have some confirmation that things are good. 0, 1, 2, and so 2 is now set. I have let go. Inspect card is -1 again. The number of cards played is 1. This is all looking great. I'm now going to pick another card. I'm going to inspect it. That one stayed, which is good. I'm going to pick this one and move it over here. I've let go, and now it is set. Excellent. I'm going to pick this one and move it in the middle. Let go. Cool. So by just confirming what the data should be doing and seeing this together is good. And now I do play. Now this is not going to look correct because it's wrong, but I have all the data. Ooh, I could change this formation if I just use that data now. Okay, so I am going to switch this back. I don't need it to show me what's going on right now. As soon as I said that, I realized I might. I'll keep it public for just a second longer. Because this is good data, the cards played is actually showing me an order of which cards have been played. And I did immediately use that, actually. I'm now actually using that data to prevent it from moving it back. So this was necessary. When I reform these scripts to run the game, I may look at this again and see that it's inefficient and find a more efficient way. But for now, I'm just trying to get it to work. So far, this looks correct. I'm going to say potentially. Okay. I mean, it sounds so silly to spend time on notes, names, things like that. But I'm telling you right now, this is actually a time saver, not a time cost. Okay, this to-do is now promoted to the next thing to think about, because as I play this, I'm playing my game. I'm here. I'm going to the first round. I'm looking at my cards. This is progressing to be close to what we want. I can think about moving it on the table and placing it in a lane and an attack position. So I'll put that one there. I'll put this one here. I'll put this one here. Cool. And I'll look at these cards just to make sure. But what if I said, oh, you know what? I really want this one. I want to put this one here. Okay, so now you see the problem. I mean, there's the shiftables thing that I want to do, where if I move it in this place, I want the other things to shift around, yes. But what if I just want to put this one here? What happens to Coffee Badger? Well, Twin Ogre should replace it. It should know that Coffee Badger is already there, and it should move it back? Question mark? I mean, maybe not, right? I mean, I could place all five cards. That's silly. Oh, interesting. I hovered over it and it did come back. Oh, hold on now. Oh, that is very interesting. Hold on. So I can hover over it, get it to lift up, so it is the inspect card again. And now that it is, I can do this. And as I hover over the cards that are not listed as the ones played, this makes sense. Because it's not listed as the ones in played, it is free to be brought back in place in hand. Okay, let's use that mechanism. Because I want to solve a different issue, but I can use this mechanism to help me solve it. Let's do this again. Here I am. Look at these nice cards. I like these cards. These cards are great. I'm going to place one on the table. And as I do, I'm taking up one of those slots with a number equaling there's actually more issues than that. Yeah, I'm getting it stuck in places it wasn't meant to. Because these are separate mechanisms, one to inspect, one to place on the table, they are not yet integrated and coordinated. They are, in fact, conflicting. I'm going to expose that data again. Because I can see what's up, but I need to confirm it before I move on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not right. It is true. When you're making a game, the game looks absolutely broken for 99% of the time. No, I'm not being hyperbolic. It is literally looks like junk and crap and an incomplete nothing for most of the time, and only comes together at the end. And while I'm working on it, there's tons of stuff that is incomplete and looks like junk. There's also stuff that's just absolutely wrong. So I have let go because I inspected at 100%, or sorry, lifted at 100%, and I could inspect or not. So the inspection card index is -1. That's correct. Number of cards played is 1. That's correct because the first card played is index 0. That's correct. And these other ones are initialized to nothing. That is true. It's all good. I know the inspect card, the one that is being lifted so I can see it and inspect it, is index 4. And I really only want to do this setting of placing on the table when I'm in the middle. Very specifically, though, I also need to unset that number if I do this. If I go back to inspection or let go. And that's actually, I just let go and it stayed there. Because it's been set, and so my code actually tells it to keep it there, but I didn't place it there. I put it over here. In other words, I need to set this to like -1. There we go. So by manually doing this in the engine, I can fix the issue, and I'm actually showing what I want to be able to do with my code. Right, and number of cards has been reset. Let's fix this here. -1. Only one card has been set. Okay. Okay. You know, I may also want our cursors to pay attention to how many cards have been set and these things, because I kind of want them to not show. In other words, hide these cursors unless it's been set. I think that's a good thing. We should do that. But it's lower priority. I'll do it later. In this case, here's the issue. I try to place it, but I'm actually inspecting it. Then I let go. And so the inspect card is -1, but this is not reset. It should be reset to that so that it does this and comes back. I think if I just set it to -1, it will come back. I need to know that I'm not in the middle, and then I can just set this number to -1. Okay, let's try it. I'll come back again and hide it again. But here's the deal. We're skipping code again. I am setting that value. Potentially. That's why I put the note there. Potentially, this is where I'm going to play it, but I don't know yet. And here's the condition where I drag it off to the side instead. Oh, okay. So I am not in the middle. If I am in the middle, set it. If I am not in the middle, it's else right here. If that's true, not only do I want to do this, but I also want to do this. I actually want to cancel placing it on the table. And I cancel it simply by saying -1. And that means it does not equal inspect card. That means that this condition will not be true, which means we're not going to skip the lift progress or increment the number of card played, etc., etc., etc. So this should fix. Shall we test? That's always a rhetorical question. Of course, we're testing. We're testing the last thing we did to make sure it does what we want it to do. Now here I should have canceled. Good. So as long as I'm not in the middle, it comes back. Perfect. Good. But if I am in the middle, it stays. Look at that. Nice. And cool. Now I want to know how to fix this part. And then we'll work on keeping them out of the same lane, for example, because that's also a thing we want to fix. All right. In game development studios and software development studios, you will wander over to the engineers department. The engineering department will have desks here and there. You will go over to a desk for an engineer and you will look at them staring off into space, drinking coffee, leisurely sitting still, staring at a blank page or random code or a game screen like this because they're working. It doesn't look like it. But the majority of what programming requires, there's a number of ingredients like uninterruptible blocks of time, sort of indicating my frustration with having to stream at the same time. But it also requires thinking things through carefully. And so you will often find them just sitting there staring off into space, doing probably the most important part of their job, the thinking. And so when I pause stream and just stop talking, it's because I'm doing that thinking. Can't always avoid the problems we've been running into so far, but we do better when we do stop and think. We do better at avoiding them. Return old card to the hand. That's exactly what I was just pausing and thinking about. How do I know that there is a card that is already played when I do this? This point where I have let go of the card, I've released the mouse button, I'm not inspecting anymore, but the card I'm about to put down is actually one I've already played and I just didn't increment. How do I know that? I am about to have the code tell me there's already a card on the table. Okay. I'm going to have to do this because that's exactly what I need to figure out. I do not yet know how I'm going to do that. In other words, the condition is the question. How do I know that? How do I know that? If I'm at round one and I'm placing 3 cards on the table, this num card played is going up and up and up until I get to 3. Once I get to 3, that is more than this number that should be, and so it goes back to 2 because it's an index. And so it's 0, 1, 2. And it should... Oh, it knows that this array is filled with negative ones, invalid numbers at first. And then it's filled with valid numbers. Aha. In other words, is this more than negative 1? The current card that we are going to play, cards played, so ones we've already played, is that number negative 1, or is it more than negative 1? If it's more, then we've gone through all the cards on the table and we're just staying there at the end. And we're trying to place another one. Let's see if this works. I'm trying to see if I can detect that there's already all the cards on the table and I should stop. One. Oh, it says there's already a card on the table. 2. It says there's already a card on the table. Why did this fill? What's going on? Whoa. Stop. Negative ones, please. Negative 1. Number of cards played is 0, so it's going to start here. Okay. It knows the inspect card index is 1, 0, 1. And I'm placing it on the table, and so it's starting to do this. Oh, right. It is already filled again. So this should be more than -1, which is why it's saying it's more than -1. According to the data, this is not true, but it's detecting that the one it's about to place is already filled with a number, a valid number, because it grabs that number as soon as I go to the table. I haven't let go yet, but it already knows the index of the card that I'm trying to place. So it's not -1, like I assumed. That's why we test. Instead, I need a different condition. What I need to do is I might be doing this somewhere else. This is when I let go of the card. I suppose it's possible. See, this is the problem. I'm going to cause problems here. Let me cause some problems and we'll fix the problems. The problem is this. If I do what I'm about to do, which is just take over the third card placed. 1, 2, 3. And now I want to take over the third card placed by doing this. Totally fine. I mean, it's set up to do that. But here's the issue. What if I actually want to replace that card instead? I need the player to be able to control which cards it is placed on the table, not just which lane and which attack order. And by doing this, I have taken away the which card are you placing option because I'm only allowing this card to be replaced. Now, you could say, well, sure, no big deal. Just drag it over here instead. And it's currently kind of doing that. Not really. Yeah, this is garbage. It's not impossible to do, but it is currently incorrect. If I only take over this last slot, these two are set in stone and can never come back. If I instead allow the player to just go into that lane, I'm going to run into a problem later. I'm already anticipating this, and maybe I should just stop solving problems that haven't come up yet. Actually, that's probably my solution. Just stop solving problems that haven't come up yet. I'm going to have it so that as you place a card here, it will shift other cards around. So if I try to put it in this lane, it will shift the first one over. I knew that was going to come up, and I've already developed this system. And so I'm eagerly trying to get to that point where we can put that in. Now, if that's in there, I cannot say I want to replace this first card with this one by putting it here, because that's not what it would do. It would shift it around instead. Oops. Could I click on the card? Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe if you click on the card. Oh, I'm dreading this because this is a brand new mechanism I have not done yet. If I click on the card, a card that already exists on the table, unconfigure it. Oh, this is a cascade of stuff I have not done yet. There's a card on the table, but let's unconfigure it. And allow it to come back like that. But to get it to actually come back, I needed to hover over because the mechanism assumes this is going on. It assumes I'm only dealing with one card at a time. This is going to allow me to reset them by doing this, but I need to hover over right now. Oof. I guess what I could do is this. If I know I'm going to reset this one, I know which index it is. I could do a special, an extra thing to say, yeah, card number 2 needs to now gently move back here. Okay. There are several things that I need to implement now. One is I'm hovering in this area where there's already a card, and I'm clicking. I am not already inspecting a card. Instead, I am not inspecting, and I hover over and I click. Because I've clicked, perhaps I'm now inspecting it. That might actually be a good solution. Oh, that might actually be a good solution. If it's on the table and I click in the same area where I was able to place it and let go, that's easy to find actually. It's easy to find. I've done it before, but it's not easy to do from where I have it. This is in the middle of the table. That's what this is. This is determining where in the middle of the table to place it. It's not the other way around. I actually need to untangle this and do it backwards. I need to say, I am now clicking, but I'm not inspecting any cards. In other words, all this is garbage. I'm just clicking, but I happen to be in that area. I happen to be in a particular grid space, and there happens to be a card that is already played that is there. Ugh, this is just now too much. That is a wholesale new feature that I haven't even thought of yet, but now we're there. Darn it. Before I go down the road of making a brand new feature happen, first of all, this is wrong. Before I go down the road of making a brand new feature, I need to stop and think it through, because I would like to get to more important answers to the questions we have about the game. I need to build it up. I need to have things solid and in place. And so there is a need to get something like this feature done. But if I can get it done quickly and easily and rough and tumble for right now, perfect. At the moment, the only way I can see to implement is not quick and easy. So I do want to think about it further. What are the issues? You definitely want this. We need to be able to select cards to return to hand, because returning an old card to hand is actually wrong. This is actually not even the right problem. The player should be in charge of selecting which cards to place on the table and which cards to take from the table and put back in the hand. Until they commit and go into battle, that should be true. Until they've done that, you should be able to select the cards, select the formation. There is another problem, which is to say if I need to look at the game. I need to stop talking is what I need to do. It is just not helpful to try and be entertaining and code at the same time. It is I can't be entertaining or help or do code properly. Oh, that's a bug. So if I take card zero, put it here, I mean, it's not the card, it's the mechanism. So I placed it as the third card. It says element 2 is 0. And I let go. Inspect card is -1. Number of cards placed is it's here. Now if I look at another card, it's setting it up in case I place it on the table. And not only is it say inspect card is index 3, but it has reset element 2. See this? That's a bug. Should not have done that yet. Should only do that. Inspect card is that. Okay. And we're putting it there. But if we aren't in ugh, there are two problems, and I cannot solve two problems simultaneously when they are in conflict, and they are in conflict. Here's what's going on. We set this one, set that one, set this one, and stay there. And that's where I'm seeing the problem. Two problems. I'm unable to reselect any of these other ones. That's an issue I need to deal with. We're also dealing with the fact that as I select and unselect, it's actually resetting this number to -1, which is kind of what it's supposed to do. It has moved on to this one, and it continually resets this to -1 until I'm here on the table. And if I'm off the table, it resets it to 1. That's fixing a problem that we had, and that's correct. However, I get to this third one. Now we could just say, yep, that's it. You placed all three, you're done. Of course, the player would be. He's reconsidering his options. The player clicks on a thing, and this is suddenly reset to -1, which is not exactly correct. Effectively, I place a card on the table, and things are fine until I click another card, at which point I can hover back over where that card was, and it comes back. So that is a way to unset a card, I guess. But I'm only in control of this last one. That's not good enough. So I do want a way to say, please select this one and reset that. Do it from here, though. If I take this card and drag it over that one, I have future plans for what that actually does. And the plan is, if it's already on the table and I shift it over there, I want it to shift around. Maybe that's the key. If it's already on the table. If it's not, it just does its thing. So I'm sitting here testing and trying to evaluate a problem while there's another problem in place, and I'm trying to ignore it, and it's distracting. Kind of like the distraction of trying to be entertaining on stream while I'm trying to code. Coffee. I need coffee. And I will come back. largely speaking, the issue that I'm struggling with has to do with being a designer first, a programmer to facilitate design second. Because it's been my experience, no shame, but programmers will just get the job done however is just most efficient for them, as well as potentially more efficient for the system. And at this point, the problem that I'm struggling with, a programmer would say, wait, what are you trying to do? Just put the cards on the table? Well, just put them on the table. Let the player deal with however we do that. Instead, the designer in me says, no, 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 no. This is all player first. I need to actually design the system to work for what the player expects, is satisfied with, etc. And therefore, the very just straightforward way to make it happen is most likely not that. And I need to consider probably 7 different ways to make it happen before I land on the one that is most appropriate for the player. A programmer would not do that. A designer needs to do that. And that is what I'm struggling with. And that's why I got coffee. 1 second. And so, let me just role play. Programmer looks at this issue and says, cool, what are you trying to do? Well, I'm just going to put cards on the table. Cool. There you go. Done. What are you talking about? No, no, there's an issue because what if the player wants to replace one of the cards on the table? One programmer would say, well, tough. They already laid them on the table, right? That's the most extreme version, but there's other versions just as inadequate for the player experience. And I'm thinking through those both as programmer and then as player and realizing, oh, yeah, that's not going to work. I need to do something else. So this jazz is just not good enough. What if I want to replace that one? So here's what I'm thinking right now. I've placed these cards on the table. I do plan to have this shiftables feature that I've been yapping about in place later, where I can take this card and move it here, and Astral Spider and Hippobot would switch places, etc. You know, if there were only 2 cards on the table, it would shift it over to the edge, and then they would switch places. Well, that's gonna happen later, and I can see it being necessary for the player experience. That's why I went down that road and made that, and I'm going to make it. It's absolutely going to be great. Right now I'm saying, oh, but wait, this is got an issue I need to fix. If I want to take this card and put it down, it's to replace that card, it's not shifting. But here's where I can solve this issue for now as a best guess that remains in place until I find something better. I'm only going to do the shiftables thing if I'm taking one card that's already on the table and shifting it around. If I click on it and move it around, that's when I'm going to make this do that. The rest of the time, it can do this. And if that's true, then me taking this card and replacing with that one is totally fine. So in terms of selecting which card to replace, no big deal. If it's coming from a card that wasn't already placed on the table, you're good. Just pick your new card from your hand and you're good. Okay, so there is also that issue that if I inspect it, now hover over this, it comes back. That's a bug. I'll fix that bug, but I was literally struggling with how do I handle the two cases where I want to pick a card and shuffle it around and not have it replace it, or pick a card that I actually want to replace, right? How do I handle those two things from the player perspective? That's what I was struggling with, and I think I figured it out. As I had hoped, I'm going to be able to ignore the shiftables problem until later. We actually have code. I keep talking about it, but there is this shift system already in place. I mean, I already tested it and everything. I just need to get to a place in our game where I can implement it. So let's deal with this problem first. That bug that I just pointed out sounds like the most pressing issue. I place 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And now this says the number of cards played is 2, which is indicating this is the one that should be used to place next. As long as there is a card that is being inspected, let's use that here. That's what this is doing here. It immediately set the third card to -1, which is not correct. I only want it to do that when I actually put it on the table. Potentially placed on the table. That's when I want to do this. This is not correct in the case where I've already placed all 3. This works great to solve one bug. It caused another one. Dragging it on the table was something I could assume was just fine as long as I was already inspecting a card, no big deal. Now I'm not only inspecting cards and putting them back in my hand, I'm also dropping them on the table. That's what this array is about, the cards that are laid on the table. This is trying to reset it because, let me do this as a quick fix. Because I do just want to fix one problem at a time and come back to it. Number of cards played. Needs to be less than this length. uninterruptible blocks of time for sure. If I try to code, I block off a lot of time so that I can focus on deep problems and not be distracted out of them, which takes time to get back into them, etc., etc., etc. Streaming like this, I swear to gosh, this is exactly the opposite of what I want. It's a problem. Okay, this issue here causes part of the problem. If I am at the end of the length of cards that I should be placing, um, I don't want to place it because these indexes will be wrong. Oh no, this index will be wrong. Darn it. Okay. I need to fix that issue, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. I'm trying to figure out a way to do that without undoing the fix I had from before. And I absolutely do not want to end stream and stop working on this project in the middle of this tangled mess, because I will have a really hard time getting right back to all of this and remembering where I was. That's why I write these notes. The issue is I am clicking on a card and lifting it up, and it's becoming the inspection card, but I've already got again, I'm silent because I need to think and not talk. This is why coding streams are so boring. If I do this and I set the number of cards played to -1, that's fine. As long as there wasn't already a card there. If there was, I need to somehow perform magic here. I only have one card I can inspect at a time, but this is the card that can come back into the hand cleanly and nicely and easily. I need to somehow make that the inspect card. If that's something I can do, let's see. Click, go through all the cards. If there is lift progress at 100% on a card, then I'm using this little lift mechanism. So I hover over a card and I can use peak. That's lift. That's lift card. It's from 0 to 1. Little peak is 100% of peak. Well, I wait until that to decide, you are inspecting it now. As long as I'm not inspecting any other card, that's true. It could be. Until then, I actually have an opportunity to reset things. I need to stop talking and think. Before I was saying, hey, have you been clicking the left mouse button? You crazy player, you. You're clicking the left mouse button on this frame, and I'm going through each of the cards in your hand. And I'm going to say if you're hovering over it, but before I do, I want to see, is there already a card that has 100% lift progress? Yes? Okay. Is there no card that is currently inspected? You're not inspecting a card already. Oh, is that true? Okay. Then make that the inspection card. That's what I had said. And I've changed this now to say, hold on, hold on. Are you inspecting a card? So you're clicking, I'm going through each card. Is there 100% progress on one of these cards? If so, are you currently inspecting a card? And the answer is no. I'm freezing because I'm thinking through my logic again. This is a great time to say, hold up, before I just assume I should inspect this card, should we also return a card that's on the table? And what I'm doing is currently just looking at the current index of cards played. If it's blank, or in other words, -1, then this is wrong anyway. This is totally wrong. Oh, if it's more than, yeah, if it is not blank, essentially, then I need to forget this, make that card on the table the inspection card so that it can return. And by the way, reset that slot to -1. I want to test this out, but what caused me to pause just now, I'm going to note. And I had to talk about it, so now I need to rethink it again. This is so impossible. To talk and to think, literally thinking code and talking English, two entirely different spaces in your brain. It's aggravating to take the time out from progress to talk. Yeah. Again, um, the toughest things in science is devising a test, and the toughest things in computer science is devising the conditions that you do test in order to make things happen. And I have a feeling this is problematic. What I really need to know is, hey, that card that's supposed to be lifted and I was about to make the inspection card, yeah, is that already on the table? Am I currently inspecting it? Because if I'm not and I'm selecting something else, that's where I actually want to do this, I think. So now I have two things to test. I want to keep an eye on this data. I'm going to end stream soon because I literally have so many things to do, and I'm taking time out to stay on schedule with my stream, but it's comical. Comical. I am placing this card. Okay. I am placing that card. Okay. I am placing this card. Okay. And now, the condition I just set up is actually looking right here and saying, hold on, is that -1? So when I do this, It should have, yeah. It made the card that was on the table the inspection card. So while I was literally clicking to make that appear to drift over to the left, I was also saying return this card. Let's test that again. Okay, so it's placed. And now I'm going to inspect this card. Which returns this last one. So is that a decent mechanism for now? Yes, kind of. I mean, I don't like the fact that I can only do the last one, and we absolutely need to fix that. So, it's interesting because I kind of like that, and yet I also need to just test this. So I'm going to test this. So it's a different condition. It's basically saying, as I go through all the cards, this is one that is 100% lift progress, and I'm not yet inspecting a card. I'm not yet inspecting a card. This is one that's ready to be inspected. Now I'm saying, hold on, is that one the current one that's on the table, or the current one that we have placed? Yeah, actually, I don't know if this is going to work as well. It works for the position 3, but I want to fix that like almost immediately. So it doesn't make sense to fix that issue. Actually, oh, I can't select any of these. Oh, it just broke everything. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So let's get rid of that. There's something about this though that I liked, and I don't know what to do with it yet. Oh boy. Frustration that 50% of it comes from having to stream. I gotta be completely honest. This would be me just happily coding and making things happen if I wasn't also trying to explain what's going on. Gotta be honest. It's comical how much of a time suck it is to stop and talk. But this is what I want to get better at so that I can be more efficient, so I can just continue to do the hobby that I do, while at the same time making it available to others to see. I have noticed people like to know what this is and understand more about it. And that way, I guess there's some benefit in the long run, but I gotta tell you, it is super frustrating. What did we get done? Well, we already had this placement of cursor on the lanes, but we didn't have cards being placed on the table. Well, now we do, and that's good. Yay. Presumably, when you hit do play now, these cards would lay down on the table so that it makes more sense when you get to this view, they are on the table. And it would be in the formation that you set. That's not the case right now because we're not there yet, because whatever. Time's up. I'm out. I have so much stuff to do. It's ridiculous. And thank you very much for nobody for watching, and love you. But I am going to continue this at my pace, doing what I do. It's all good. See you next time.